Today we're going to be taking a look at Creed 3 and the biggest reasons why you should go out and see this movie. The story begins with Donnie a couple years removed from retiring from boxing, now spending his time with his family and training up-and-coming contenders at the gym, and one day he's reunited with his childhood friend Damian, who spent 18 years in prison and is now looking to resume his own childhood dream of becoming a heavyweight champ. Donnie feels a sense of loyalty and even responsibility for the way things turned out for Damian, so he agrees to help him out along the way, letting him train in the gym, inviting him to big-time LA events, inviting him to meet his family. But eventually the conflict and the tensions that have been brewing for almost 20 years between the two come to a head, to the point where words can no longer be used to settle this conflict, and it can only be resolved in the ring. Any conversation about why you should go out and see this movie begins and ends with Jonathan Majors, who is perhaps the most compelling villain in the entire Rocky franchise, or is at least the most compelling in Creed's 3 movies. In fact, a lot of this movie early on focuses more on his character than Donnie, as Donnie is at a completely different stage in his career, whereas Damian is trying to build himself back up. Not only is this a great performance by Majors, who is so good at portraying the frustration and desperation of his character, as he is somebody that doesn't have anything to lose except for time. The movie smartly weaves that into his boxing style, where he isn't afraid to step over the line and break the rules, because at the end of the day, for him, all that matters is the end result. But his character is also extremely well written. The movie tries to sell you on this brother-like relationship between his character and Donnie, and I bought that. But I thought he also made a great foil for Bianca's character. The two can relate to one another because their childhood dreams aren't turning out the way they necessarily envisioned, because of certain roadblocks. For Damian, it was going to prison for 20 years, and for Bianca, it's her loss of hearing that isn't letting her perform on stage. And the conversations between the two where they can empathize with one another and how they go about that conflict and overcoming it, I thought was some of the most compelling scenes in this movie. I thought the movie also did a great job of building up the tension and the drama between the two characters, so you understand why these two guys need to fight one another. It's essentially the clash of Damian's jealousy over how Donnie's life has turned out, feeling like if it wasn't for just this pivotal mistake in his life, that would have been his, versus Donnie's almost imposter syndrome that maybe Damian's right, that everything that he has gotten in life wasn't actually deserved. And the last reason why you should go out and see this movie is something that I was really looking forward to, which is Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. And what I like about his approach to this movie is that he wasn't afraid to take chances. He didn't just do a basic Rocky movie. He wasn't afraid to take big swings, especially in the boxing matches that he has talked extensively in interviews was heavily influenced by anime. And that is never more apparent than one of the tropes that he breaks stylistically in the final fight between Damian and Donnie. And the stylistic choice that Michael B makes here is very unique, and I thought really worked for this, because all that mattered was the personal conflict between Damian and Donnie. And anything that could enhance that personal conflict between the two, I was for. But before I get out of here, I do want to point out just one criticism that I had for this movie. Without getting into spoilers, there is something really big that happens at the end of Act 2 that I think is a really great scene on its own. But in terms of what this movie was, the story that it was telling, it almost feels tangential and so out of place. Usually when something this big happens, it's used as like a catapult to get you from Act 2 to Act 3 and serves as like another driving force in terms of the story. But this really didn't have anything to do with the plot, it felt like. And although it's a great scene with one of my favorite lines in the movie, it just didn't bridge Act 2 and Act 3 the way I think it wanted to, or at least the way that I was expecting it to. But those are my biggest reasons on why you should go out and see Creed 3. If you happen to see it, let me know in the comments what you thought of it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.